What's happening, everybody? Welcome into the Wilbur and Gold Show. I'm your host, Will Dalton, a.k.a. Wilbur and Gold, welcoming you into episode 50 of the Wilbur and Gold Show here on a very, very warm, at least where I'm at in North Carolina, Wednesday. Hope you're doing great. Hope you're having a good start to your week yesterday and Monday. Ahsoka. It has finally started. Production started last week. And I tell you what, there's been a lot of fresh Star Wars content coming out here as we await Kenobi dropping here in like a week and a half, maybe 10 days by now. It's going to drop May 27th. The first two episodes, obviously, on Disney Plus, free plug. Excuse me. But I tell you what, between Ahsoka starting production last week, and then towards the end of the week, going into the weekend, we had like the media day over in Berlin, I want to say, for Kenobi, where you had Hayden Christensen, Anakin Vader. I'm assuming we're all Star Wars nerds here, but if not, Hayden Christensen, who plays Anakin Vader, Ewan McGregor, obviously the star of the show here, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and then you have Moses, I forget her last name, who's going to be playing the main Inquisitor that is basically out hunting for Kenobi. Obviously going to have the Grand Inquisitor too, but she's going to be kind of like, you can tell just on what you're seeing with, like yesterday we got a a Vanity Fair photo shoot, not just for Kenobi, by the way. This was for like all the Star Wars stuff that's going to be dropping over the next year or so. You had Andor, you had obviously Kenobi, you had Ahsoka, you had the Mandalorian there, and there's a photo. And again, you hardcore Star Wars fans have already seen this. There was a photo, and there's like a little 2.5 minute video of kind of the behind the scenes of the shoot and all the cast talking about how great this photographer is that works for Vanity Fair doing the shoot. And there's a couple shots, but there's a shot of the Inquisitor, played by Moses, and Vader, all decked out in his suit, a New Hope style suit, which is cool. And so you can tell, because from what we hear, Vader's going to be on the damn warpath in this. Like, it's going to be the hallway scene in Rogue One times 10 is from what we hear. And Reva is the character's name, the Inquisitor, and she's going to be probably the main person working under Vader in all of this series. So, God, but that photo with the smoke and the wind kind of blowing Vader's cape back, and God, just such a great photo. And then you also, in that photo shoot, saw Hayden Christensen, not in the suit, but he did have a cape on and a lightsaber. And it's the first time that I guess we've seen Hayden Christensen with a lightsaber prop since his Revenge of the Sith days, where we saw a lot of behind-the-scenes footage of, him and Ewan, Anakin versus Obi-Wan, behind-the-scenes stuff in Revenge of the Sith back in 2005. I believe they filmed it in like 2003, 2004, but it came out in 2005. But that's how long it's been since we've seen Hayden Christensen twirling a lightsaber around behind scenes on set. And so that was cool. But what was interesting about that, and it's been talked about out there a little bit by people like Star Wars Theory and others, he had a cape on. Now, he could have he could have just randomly had his cape on, whatever. But it's interesting because obviously in training for these lightsaber combat scenes in the show, some scenes he's going to have a cape on. The question here is it going to be him as Vader that he was training for? Which naturally, because that's what we know for sure we're getting here. But he could have also been training with his cape, because it is a little different, because when the cape whips around, that's why he was training with it on, so he could kind of get used to the cape whipping around and not hitting it with the saber and whatnot. He also might have been training for a flashback, either as Anakin in a Clone Wars flashback, or an Order 66 flashback where he just turned into Vader, where we will actually get to see him doing his thing at the Jedi Temple in Order 66. And what also was an interesting little nugget that makes me think, I don't know why I just pouring straight to my forehead. Usually, an interesting little nugget about this, in that shot behind the scenes for Vanity Fair with the cape on, his lightsaber wasn't Darth Vader's lightsaber. If you really zoom in, you will see this was Anakin's lightsaber prop from Revenge of the Sith. Even more so making me think, all right, this is either a Clone Wars flashback or this is an Order 66 at the Jedi Temple flashback. Really cool stuff to see. And then also, I'm talking about Hayden Christensen a lot because he's my favorite. You guys don't understand it. Well, some of you do, but I have been a massive Star Wars nerd, as you can see, since like second grade. I believe I was first introduced to it through like books at the library that I would go to as a like first grader. But second grade is when I actually started to get to watch, when they would come on TV, some of the movies. I don't remember what the first one I think the first Star Wars movie I ever watched was probably Attack of the Clones. But as excited as I've gotten, so to that point, as a massive Star Wars nerd, as excited as I've been, you know, when Star Wars reemerged back in 2014 with The Force Awakens and so on and so forth, as you've gone through Rogue One, Solo, the rest of the sequel trilogy, which we won't get into that. I have no problem with them, but they're not my favorite. I don't hate them like a lot of people do. That's all I'm going to say for now. And then obviously the shows coming through, Mandalorian, Boba Fett. I get excited about every single one as a massive Star Wars nerd. But I haven't gotten this excited about a piece of Star Wars content, a show, a movie, whatever, since Revenge of the Sith back in 2005. Because Revenge of the Sith is my favorite of all of them. Hayden Christensen playing Anakin / Vader is my favorite in all of it. And when I tell you the amount of times as a kid when that DVD came out, and you all know what I'm talking about, the 2-disc DVD set, one disc had the movie itself, and the other disc had all the behind-the-scenes shit that I watched as much as the movie. So I've watched a lot of Revenge of the Sith, and I've watched as much of Hayden Christensen as Anakin as I possibly fucking could, because he's my favorite. I love him. To see him again with that longer hair, because he looks very similar now. I'm pretty sure in Revenge of the Sith, if you go back and look at a lot of his interviews back then, he has longer hair, but it's not as long as what you see him have as Anakin in the movie. So I'm pretty sure he used hair extensions for the actual movie, and just grew his hair out some, just somewhat long, kind of a shorter long, I guess. And then again, the extensions kind of got him the rest of the way. So I'm pretty sure that's what they're doing for both the the Kenobi show, even though sometimes it feels like a Vader show, for any Anakin flashback scenes. And that's definitely what they're going to be doing for Ahsoka, which is what really catches my eye here, because again, Ahsoka just started production last week. And in all these interviews you're seeing with Hayden Christensen, his hair looks exactly the way it did in all his interviews back in Revenge of the Sith days in 2005. So that tells me it just, and to see him twirl, because he was always so good with a lightsaber. Now, I'm not talking about just in the movie. I'm talking about like behind scenes. Like, he was really good. Like the aggressive and kind of loose and athletic nature of Anakin's lightsaber style before he gets a little stiffer as Vader in the suit, which I'm going to be curious to see what his style is like, because they're saying, in fact, Ewan McGregor said this, that the fighting style in Kenobi is going to be exactly like it was in the prequels, which I'm super excited about because we did not get that in the sequels. But I tell you what, man, to see Anakin or Hayden twirl that lightsaber again just for 2 seconds, God, I've not been this excited for a Star Wars movie or show since Revenge of the Sith. Not to take away from any of the pieces of, the movies, 7, 8, 9, Rogue One, Solo, Mandalorian, Boba Fett, not to take anything away from any of it. But the relationship I have with Revenge of the Sith, the relationship I have with the prequels in general, because that's what I grew up with, but specifically Episode 3 and that story of Anakin becoming Vader, him being my favorite character. I mean, hell, I even grow my hair kind of like how Anakin was, because that's what I always loved. I loved it as a kid, is what I'm trying to tell you. To have it back when I never thought we would see Hayden Christensen in Star Wars as Anakin again. Never thought we would get what we're getting with Kenobi and beyond. So to have this all these years later, it's incredible. It is such an incredible feeling. So that's all I've got for you today, because I got to bounce. I got to get to work here pretty soon. But I did want to come on and hang with you guys for a few minutes. Be sure to like and subscribe. You're going to be getting plenty more Star Wars content around here. There's sports content. I'm a sports broadcaster. I'm a Star Wars nerd. I like the game, so we might even get into some of that. But we do it all around here. Whatever's going on in the House of the Dragon, we didn't even get into that. I'm a massive Game of Thrones nerd. You can't see my banners because they're over on the other side of the room, but I've got a Targaryen, a Stark banner hanging up. And House of the Dragon, this is a good year for me. This last little year from Spider-Man No Way Home, giving us Tobey and Andrew Garfield back, and now this, bringing back Hayden and Ewan as Anakin Obi-Wan, and then bringing in Game of Thrones back into the fold with House of the Dragon, that Game of Thrones prequel. It's gonna be a fun year as far as just watching shit for me, and I'm sure you too as well, all you fans out there. So that's it. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Will Dalton, aka Wilbur and Gold here. We'll see you next time.